There are certain phrases and names you just don't want to hear in the same sentence together. Lamar Jackson leaves practice, injury. Those are all phrases you don't want to hear together, but that is what happened on Wednesday. We talk about the latest on Lamar Jackson, if he's okay, as well as the quarterback struggling at training camp and other updates, all that and more coming up on Locked On Ravens.
You are Locked On Ravens, your daily Baltimore Ravens podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Ravens. Welcome into the show. I'm your host, Kevin Oestreicher of Ravens Wire. We're here with you on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks so much for being here, making Locked On Ravens a part of your day and your first listen each and every single day. We're free and available for you on all podcasting platforms, including in video form on YouTube, where you can like and subscribe to the channel, and in audio form where you can follow along and subscribe wherever you get your podcast 5 days per week here on Locked On Ravens, Monday through Friday. Plus, we have some bonus episodes on the weekends when the headlines permit. We got Locked On Ravens watch-alongs during games, live reactions. We have instant reactions after those games, as well as a Locked On Ravens squad show with myself, Sam Njoku, and former Ravens receiver and Super Bowl champion Qadry Ismail, who is here with us today. Appreciate all the everydayers out there. First-time listeners, if you're somewhere in the middle, thank you as well. And today's episode of Locked On Ravens is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season's around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. Q, Lamar Jackson left practice. That's what everybody's talking about. We'll just cut right to the chase here. About 20-ish or so minutes, right, to go. Q, you were out there. I just want people to know that Q was out there at Owings Mills. He's out there at practice. He's getting the updates. He does a great job providing insight wherever you can find him, honestly, here, anywhere. But Q, Lamar leaving practice, obviously that's going to cause a stir. Apparently went down, was picked up off the ground, was seen flexing his wrists and his arm area, goes inside after a few plays with the strength staff, trainers, doctors, whatever you want to call it. Now, then the Ravens come out after practice and say, all right, well, Lamar just got stepped on. He's fine. What did you kind of see with what happened, Lamar going in? How did this all unfold from your perspective being out there at practice?
So it was interesting because the entire day, obviously, it's been overcast, had some light drizzling that was going on. And for the most part, portions of the practice, they were in rhythm. He and the different receivers, Zay Flowers, obviously Bateman didn't practice today, but he was hitting some guys down the field and looked the part, and it was like great. But then the final move the ball period, that's when it kind of started going awry, where you're like, oh, well, that wasn't a really good pass. Oh, that really wasn't a good pass either. Oh, wow. And I think what happened was somehow when he got knocked down, it was more along the lines of the pocket collapsing, and their Ravens official report is that he got stepped on, which obviously must have. I don't know what happened to his arm/wrist, but I do know from that point, it became a scenario where what looked like he was struggling, it was amplified. And the one deep ball, for example, to LeJohntay Wester was caught. It was a great sideline throw, but it was just like a funky release that I hadn't seen from Lamar in forever. And so I just didn't, I was like, wow, okay, maybe it's the drizzle, it's the rain, it's whatever. But then he threw another one that was kind of off. It wasn't as accurate to Charlie Kolar. Sailed one over Zay Flowers. And that's when I was like, that's, just odd that he's having these off throws. Threw one in the dirt. Although that was like, that was a typical kind of sidearm release throw to Justice Hill. And I just think that overall, it was just different. And that's where you see, like, a lot of practice left. Lamar Jackson walking into the building, and that's where bigger picture, myself and other media members are kind of like looking at one another like, what's going on? And then after practice, that's where the official report came out that Lamar just, got his foot stepped on. It's a bunch to do with nothing. And hopefully it is. But, that's what, myself and other colleagues witnessed when we were watching.
Was he favoring anything when he was walking? Was it just like a plain, just all right, we're going to go back? Or did he look like he was like limping from being stepped on, or like his wrist or his arm? Or like, could you see clearly what was going on there at all?
I mean, he wasn't exactly making a beeline inside, because technically when he was walking with strength coach, like I didn't really put two and two together. It was just like, oh, who's that guy that's walking? And you really couldn't make out the number. The Ravens quarterback jersey numbers are they look muted. In other words, you can have the purple jersey, but they got purple lettering where other guys have, the white jersey with the purple lettering or purple jersey with the white lettering. And you kind of like, oh, okay, that's so-and-so. Oh, yeah, that's so-and-so. You could see, but the quarterbacks, all of them, you can't really tell. You got to you got to look at the nuance of the person and all that. And obviously, this year's quarterback group, you can tell Lamar from Cooper and from Devin Leary. But if Cooper Rush didn't have his long white sleeves on, there were times where you're like, wait a minute, who was that? Who threw it? Because you're watching from afar. You're not up close and personal. And so it takes a minute to to see what, that personality looks like non-verbally. That's something that when he was walking in, you just were like, who? Oh, wow, that's Lamar. So from my vantage point, I didn't necessarily notice a limp, but I didn't notice him walking, like a normal gait that a healthy, nothing wrong with me Lamar Jackson would.
We heard Todd Monken didn't see the play. He spoke to reporters. John Harbaugh did not speak after practice on Wednesday. Tylan Wallace, he was kind of in there running the plays, and he spoke to the media and said that, he didn't really know, like he knew he wasn't in there, but he didn't really know what was going on. He kind of said he was thinking it was just probably resting his arm. He said, quote, obviously keep him in our prayers and everything. Hope he's doing great, but I'm sure Lamar being Lamar, he'll be back sooner before we know it. There's like a wide array of things that this could be, Q, and I don't want to dive into the speculation world of what are the bajillions of injuries or bajillions of things that could have happened. I mean, if he did get stepped on and that was the main cause of it, I mean, I guess his ankle could have turned in. Maybe it just could have hurt a lot. He just was feeling off and he couldn't really put the pressure on. If it is his wrist and, he is like the shift there, it's just an interesting situation because all the reports and everything that you're saying, okay, he fell down, he got up and, things kind of changed after that. All the reports are saying, oh, he's favoring his arm and his wrist. And then the Ravens come out and say, well, he just got stepped on. And honestly, both can be true. He could have gotten stepped on, could have fallen down, could have fallen on his arm a little bit. And that could have just, oh, dang, that hurt a little bit. But I know that the messaging for people, it's just kind of what's really going on here? Not that we're going to know. I don't know when we're going to know, if we're going to know the whole 9 yards. I guess the best indication is if Lamar's out there at practice today. We'll have to see. But you never want to hear Lamar and leaving practice and hearing this happen the way that it did. And I know that certainly the fan base is worried about it. I'm worried about it, but the Ravens are coming out and saying it's fine. It's just a matter of, if they're going to play it cautious with him or not, maybe give him a day or two off. We'll know that obviously today, but I don't know. It kind of feels like a situation that might not truly be finished yet. Is that kind of how you feel about it? Or do you think truly it's done with, we're over it?
Well, they're going to have a very early morning practice for Thursday, Friday walkthrough, final prep, and then you're going to have your trip down to DC, and that's it. I know Lamar did some warming up in the preseason second game and first game, but that was, minimal. And rest-wise, I could see where, sure, take a couple of days, make sure you're right, and get back on out there. easily could see John like not giving a care in the world whether or not he goes out there and does anything, because it's all about that regular season, and that's the main thing. That regular season matters.
And it's so, I mean, obviously, if you're listening to this after the reports from Thursday's practice and whether Lamar is out there or not, we'll continue to have those updates for you. But as Q and I are recording this on Wednesday night for Thursday, we kind of don't know right now. So going off of what we know, but kind of for the second part of the show, we're going to be diving a little bit more into this situation, as well as talking about how the quarterbacks fared at practice and how they've been faring in general. So stay tuned. A lot coming up on Locked On Ravens. First, the show is brought to you by FanDuel. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel's giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week one even kicks off, this is your moment. And I'm going to crown my champ in August. And look, I'm the host of Locked On Ravens, but I really feel good about the Ravens this season. Over on FanDuel right now, they are plus 700 to win the Super Bowl this year, which is tied for the best odds on FanDuel alongside the Bills and the Eagles. The Chiefs are at plus 800, but I think with the Ravens roster, obviously Lamar Jackson there, I think that they're hungry to win. Everything seems to be lining up for them. They just really have to stay healthy. If they can do that, I think they have as good of a shot as anyone to win the Super Bowl. But visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel. Play your game. Back on Locked On Ravens, Kevin Oestreicher, Qadry Ismail, still diving into Ravens talk with you on this Thursday edition of the show. Q, when you, and I know you with sports performance, human movement, you obviously understand injuries, understand the body, understand how to rehab and everything that goes into it. When you hear that someone gets stepped on, because that is what the Ravens have said, that's what the official spokesperson said, what are the typical injuries that could potentially come out of that? Like, is it the ankle turning in? Is it like a bruise? I know there's probably a wide array, but what are the most common things you see when, like, in a setting like that? And again, we didn't really see, but when you get stepped on, what does that generally entail?
Well, so you get stepped on. Now you're talking about where. Is it a step down on the foot, top of the foot? So is it a contusion? Is it where your leg kind of gets scraped on the side of your foot? So that brings in a whole nother level of bruising. Your foot in general, you don't have lots of blood circulating to the area. So yeah, it can hurt, but it also can linger. You got to know about your digits. You know, the different phalanges can get to the point where, you know, I won't say it, knock on wood, nothing is broken, but man, that hairline fracture, that can happen in a minute. And, you know, all of those different scenarios, a sprain, like if you got your foot stepped on, you kept on moving and you sprained a tendon or a ligament, I mean, that's something unto itself. But in all of those factors, you know, it's one where you just can't take it for granted, because, you know, it is your foot. It is something that you got to really be mindful of when you're running, moving, cutting, especially the dynamic awesomeness of Lamar Jackson. You know, his one of one is his mobility, is his ability to be the ultimate escape artist, to be the ultimate, you know, play extender. And so I think for him, mother of pearl, you don't want to have a foot that is sore or bothersome.
Yeah, nope, not at all. Not at all. So we'll see what Lamar Jackson ends up doing at practice, if anything, on Thursday. And if there's more updates, of course, we're going to be covering it here over on Locked On Ravens. But Q, the word out of training camp, and this is something, you know, you saw it firsthand, the quarterbacks were just struggling in general on the field on Wednesday. You mentioned Lamar after he went down, kind of sailing throws, looking a little different. Was that really the only portion of practice where Lamar struggled, or was it just an off day in general for Lamar? I mean, how did he look to you obviously both before this whole thing happened and obviously after as well.
It's interesting. I look at practice in a couple different ways. Like I look at the warm-up element and the ball shouldn't hit the ground. I then look at defensive emphasis period, offensive emphasis period, and defensive emphasis. Like defense should literally be disruptive, but the offensive emphasis, offense technically should be getting a good look and the ball shouldn't hit the ground. And I think by and large, even with the bad weather, up until the last period, it wasn't, for me, what I saw wasn't bad. There were some throws, but who's 100% ever? So It wasn't bad, but yet at the same time, you could see where things started to deteriorate. And obviously, it was really bad when Lamar got stepped on in what we just said in the first segment.
Yep. And I think you made a really great point last week, and it's something that, I think people should be aware of, is that with Lamar, you mentioned his experimentation, right? It's stuff that he is trying to work on. And in practice, it's something with a lot of these guys, and I know it's a little different when you kind of shift into preparation for week one. I know that's kind of where the Ravens are right now with ones versus threes and the whole 9 yards there. But I think your point is true that you made last week where, you're going to try to get away with those in practice, not in high leverage moments in games that matter. And so I think that that's important context as well. And Lamar experimenting and kind of going through things doesn't make like, oh, great, Lamar threw an interception, he's experimenting. Like, obviously you don't want to hear about interceptions or turnovers or whatnot, or like bad throws, but when else are you going to work on stuff against live competition? Like, I think that's also really important context when it comes to sometimes not even quarterbacks, but just understanding the importance of knowing what the emphasis is at practice, like you were just talking about.
So I think part of Todd Monken's system for Lamar and the whole idea of him throwing more interceptions and all that, it's like, yeah, I want to go through the reads, but I also want to see some things that I might be facing in the game. And how does that look to me? I'm going to take a chance on that. And Lamar, in his growth, can clearly dial it back and then be, I won't say the word conservative, but for Lamar Jackson, he can say, okay, I know this is the safe throw. I'm going to get it to that guy. But that's where, developing chemistry and trying to stretch the boundaries of things, you would see where Lamar Jackson is going to make an aggressive throw that probably he shouldn't have made. However, 3 times out of 10, he's going to go ahead and make it. There might be 4 times out of 10, there's an incompletion. And then you're looking at, 3 other times where he's getting picked.
And look, want some good Lamar Jackson news, Q? I know you were out there watching the Lamar Jackson Tez Walker connection. Obviously, that was a topic of conversation from practice on Wednesday, more so at the start of practice and in a hurry-up situation, according to Ryan Mink here. What did you see with the connection and just in general, like not even just on Wednesday, but the connection that Lamar and Tez have tried to develop over the course of these past couple of weeks?
Part of my reasoning for saying Tez Walker's name and him being one of those guys that is going to show up and show up in a big way was because of the fact that you saw his catch radius, you saw the smoothness of the routes. But that's one thing when it's OTAs, when it's minicamp. It's another thing when you can, piece it all together for training camp and it show out in the Dallas game. He's just doing what he does. And it looks to me like Lamar has the utmost confidence in just getting him to rock. And the move the ball period, he was running the ball, looking great, and snatching it out of the air. Very aggressive with all of his full complementary route running and catching. And that's what you want.
Yeah, Tez has done a great job. And Feels like he's developed. The game has slowed down for him. He's clearly worked this offseason to get better, and I love that for him. But obviously, KEY Lamar Jackson, not the only quarterback on the roster. You talked about Cooper Rush a little bit earlier. Struggles by the quarterbacks again. It was apparent on Wednesday. Apparently, was Cooper someone that had a rough go of it at practice yesterday? What was kind of the Cooper Rush situation? Because I know it's been a hot topic of conversation, the Ravens backup situation right now.
Yeah, again, I think bigger picture wise, it's like you're recognizing, just there's a rhythm that you want to see from no matter who's out there. And I think for Lamar, clearly the rhythm is there. It's established. I think Cooper, his arm talent isn't that good. And there's such a big drop off from him to Lamar. I think that's the one thing that is concerning the different, writers that are covering the practices, as well as what the fan base is seeing from Cooper Rush. He's a timing and rhythm guy, and this offense can be timing and rhythm. But I also know this: it is a second play offense. First play is great, and that's awesome if you're on schedule, on timing. But when that thing breaks down, those receivers they know to go. They've put it and they've implemented so many times in different practice scenarios, and in doing so, you see it show up in games. I know he's not that guy, so to be interesting. Again, knock on wood, we ain't worrying about him. Let him be the backup and not even contemplate number 8 coming to the sideline, except for, unfortunately, if it's a punt, or fortunately, because they're about to kick the extra point. All of that to be true and all that to be said, I think for Cooper Rush, yeah, there's a big drop-off.
The best case scenario for Cooper Rush this season from a Ravens perspective is he only plays when the Ravens are up by 30 points in the fourth quarter, and you get Lamar Jackson that time to rest. And the rest is history there. So to me, another big thing is that we know that if all these top quarterbacks go down, Lamar, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, etc., and that's like a season-ending thing, I think, the Ravens have a lot of talent on their roster. Lamar Jackson is what makes that roster go, right? He is the piece there. But the quarterback conversation is, well, if Lamar goes down early in the season, and obviously knock on wood, it does not happen. But if it does, and he is out for 2 months, he has to miss 8 games. You want a guy in there that can keep you in the hunt so that when Lamar comes back, there's no worry about, man, we're so far out of contention. Doesn't matter what Lamar does over the last month and a half of the season, we're toast. Like if Cooper Rush can come in a 2-month scenario and go 5-3, 6-2, you're feeling good when Lamar comes back. But if he goes 1-7, then the Ravens are so far out of playoff contention, Lamar, they might not as well even bring him back because you're probably cooked at that point. So I think it's a bigger conversation with the backup position where it's important to have a guy you trust, but in a best case scenario, that guy's not going to see the field because your starter stays healthy.
Of course, and that's the risk you take when you're talking about the Ravens. It's a great basket to have when I say all your eggs in one basket. Yeah, we putting all the eggs and then some, cracked, scrambled, boiled, fried, sunny side, over easy, all of it in Lamar Jackson's basket. Let's go. He's the guy. Period. End of discussion. It stops with him. I think all the other pieces, boy, they are enhanced because of him. Let him go down, mother of pearl. It depends on the level of what going down means, but this team, without Lamar Jackson, is just an entirely different ball club.
Yeah, it's true. And again, it's the same for all the teams with top quarterbacks like that. But you just hope that if a situation like that does arise, this is football. We know injuries happen. We know it can happen to anybody. You have to feel prepared, although we do know that drop-off, you're right, is absolutely massive. But kind of in the final part of the show, we'll get into other practice updates. I'm going to let Q take the floor on some of his guys. I know he is itching to talk about that at big days on Wednesday. So stay tuned. A lot coming your way here on Locked On Ravens. First, the show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Now, I linked all my accounts to Monarch and immediately spotted a few subscriptions I wasn't even using, and canceling those alone saved me money every month. And I've been very big on saving. I want to do it. I want to do it better. And Monarch has helped me a ton with that. Plus, with those subscriptions I was using, I was able to put new subscriptions that I actually needed in order to get the most out of my situation. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNFL. Back here on Locked On Ravens, Kevin Oestreicher and Qadry Ismail still rocking out with you. Almost did a whole show on Jadeveon Clowney today just for Q, because I know Q loves speculating on those free agents. But I decided to spare him today. I decided to spare him today. He would have said, "See you later. You can do it. You can do it on your own. You're on your own today." So Q's giving us updates on Lamar Jackson, updates on the quarterbacks. Now, Cooper Rush threw a couple of interceptions on Wednesday, Q, and I think you know exactly who they were to. That is Mr. TJ Tampa himself, one of your guys. You know, you've been all over TJ. He's someone that you're very high, and I like him too. TJ's a guy that I was really ecstatic when they were able to pick him in the draft. He's obviously had some playing time in the preseason to get reps and establish himself. So 2 interceptions on the day for TJ Tampa. Can you kind of take us through what those looked like and kind of how those plays developed?
It's interesting because from a interception aspect of it all, I thought that he was in position. Great. That's awesome. But even in position, it was where I thought the rush was more significant than the actual interception. Great ball skills, excellent job, being in the right position, making the play. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and act like, you know, an interception is nothing. It was something. And that's my guy, TJ Tampa. He had some other plays where there were some incompletions because of great coverage. So that's where I'm like, all right, you know, those are felt more legit. Giving love to the defensive front, that to me is where it was, oh, that was a great rush. Oh, Cooper, oh, you're in trouble. Oh, great job. Great job. Oh, okay, the ball's still, boom, an interception. Oh, wow, that was a great spin move. Oh, he bull rushed him. Cooper got to get out of the pocket. Oh, he's throwing it away. Oh, boy, it's an interception. That's what it felt like when it was the bigger picture of the 2 interceptions with TJ Tampa. TJ had a great practice today, don't get me wrong. It's just that, you know, in the scheme of it all, so did the D-line. And that's something that I guess I was looking forward to seeing as far as everybody commenting on what exactly happened.
Right. And it's important context too. I mean, look, it's a team game, you know, and guys setting up other guys is one of the names of the game. You played on a team Q where guys set up other guys all the time during your Super Bowl run back in 2000. So it's important to have that. So speaking of the D-line, I mean, how did they look? Anybody stand out? Do we need to say Mike Green over and over again? Is that where we're going right now?
So don't get me wrong. Like, we got to have our Mike Green. Oops, I said it. Mike Green. But he did. He showed his bendableness and got after it. But there were other guys. There were Aeneas Peoples still being that disruptor. BK. Sure. I mean, he was doing his thing. Brent Urban got in the mix a little bit there too. You know, across the board, CJ Koye, he was able to, you know, kind of show up and show out a little bit. Ravenel a lot. So there were guys. That's why it was weird. I shifted from looking at the receivers and tight ends to then kind of just concentrating on, well, what is it that we're seeing with this defensive front? And what is it with the offensive line that we're not seeing? So it was good. I just think that this defensive front, I had a chance to speak to a guy that I covered some 14 years ago in Jaire Johnson. So I'm, walking in the building, and all of a sudden I see Double J comes over to me. We boom, catching up, like, yo, what's up? And in my mind, what was so impressive was just how he was just gushing over the defensive front. He's like, man, they got a bunch of dogs. They get after it. And it's so deep. Like, there's no drop off from one guy to the next. And that was really telling. Like, this is a defensive front that needed to be retooled, needed to show up. Everybody's healthy. Travis Jones, just disruptor. Let's just call it what it is. That dude just be disrupting stuff and just be balling. So bigger picture wise, I think that's something that, if Double J is seeing it, then we all need to sit back and like kick it and watch. I think it was interesting. I asked him, I said, Tavius Robinson, what did you see? He's like, man, I love him. I mean, he's just, his upside is just, it knows no bounds. And so I asked him, I was like, your strength, like, was setting the edge. Are we saying that he's in that Double J realm? Without doubting, without trying to sugarcoat it, started nodding his head, like, absolutely. Absolutely. Strong upside. So I think bigger picture-wise for him, I just think that when you look at the way in which the defense is constructed, and this is kind of interesting because I just said, well, Lamar goes down, oh boy. But with Lamar there, it puts so much pressure on the other team's offense that's why I think you're going to see them be in a strong position to make plays, because they're going to be trying to keep up with the track meet that is Lamar Jackson and his offense.
Yeah, it's really important. And again, it's iron sharpens iron here. Ravens offense versus Ravens defense. Ravens defense versus Ravens offense. You get that in practice, but then once the games come around, I think for both the units to go, hey, this is kind of easy sometimes when you face some of these teams. Like, man, we're not going up against Lamar in practice every day. We're not going up against that defense in practice every day. And I think everybody benefits from that. We'll continue to have Lamar Jackson updates as they come on Locked On Ravens. But Q, I appreciate your time. Thank you for hopping on. Before we let you go, of course, please tell people where they can find you and what you're working on. I know you're staying busy, missile training and everything you got going on over there.
Yeah, it is. It's all about missile training, missiletraining.com. Missiletraining.com is where you can find me, interact with me for all your needs, whether it be the typical sports journey of trying to have long-term athletic development. You got a young kid that needs to develop. We got some awesome tools that will give some great motor unit feedback. The Synapse is one of them. The TP Apex is another. My GOTA movement system is another. And when it comes to recovery, FSM, Halo, Phoenix Waveform, we got your recovery needs as well. You're a sports team, you're an individual, you're a person looking for general fitness. Got all your human movement and sports performance need all under one roof, missiletraining.com. And of course, you can also see me on WJZ, where I'll have my Purple pregame show every week at Jimmy's Tailgate. It's going to be awesome. Check us out there. But then it's Kevin Oestreicher and I. Twice you're going to be checking us out. One time on Locked On Ravens, another time on the Squad Show. Thank goodness we don't got to worry about him guessing about David Clowney. Woo! But we do. We have a lot of fun. We chop it up and break it all down for you, the Raven fan.
Yeah, it's a good time. Be sure you support Q Missile Training, support him with WJZ, and of course, you can catch him here on Locked On Ravens every single week. So, Q, I appreciate you as always. Thank you, and thank you to everybody who watched and listened to the show here today. Again, we'll have your Lamar Jackson updates as they come. There won't be a squad show tonight, because we're going to have it on Saturday after the post game. We'll have a post game for you for that with the squad show. So be sure you check that out. On the way out, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button in video form and follow along in audio form here on Locked On Ravens. And I will see you right back here tomorrow for more Ravens coverage on Locked On Ravens.